Tonight, let's put out those details that we are getting in right now with regards to how exactly China also plays a key role. Whether at all ensuring that the western sector of India remains active, which would essentially mean that the deployment would also have that focus. It turns out that this is essentially being done so that the line of actual control could perhaps be given a miss. Now, let's just take you through some of the details in terms of the deployment that has taken place and why it's turning out to becoming a far more difficult situation. Now, India, in fact, had recently moved in one more brigade to counter terrorist activities and have achieved success in delegating 20 plus terrorists, including all Pakistanis. That's important to point this out. Secondly, with regards to the Chinese aggression that we have seen on the line of actual control, India was initially going in for a uniform, rather, force of Rashtriya Rifles from the Poonch sector to Ladakh to counter the Chinese aggression in 2020 and put pressure on them to match the Indian strength. But it turns out that keeping the western sector active would also give some sort of an advantage to the Chinese. Let me just go across to my colleague Gursimran, who's getting us the latest details. Gursimran, everyone was wondering what exactly could be the China link. Now, it turns out that this is a deliberate attempt to keep the western sector absolutely hot, which would essentially mean that in terms of deployment, India would have to then balance out between the deployment that's taking place on the western sector and what's really happening along the line of actual control. Help our viewers understand what's the link.
See, Shravan, if we go back to the history, we all remember that what has happened in the second quarter of 2020, the Galwan clashes, and post that the Operation Snow Leopard that was launched by the Indian Army. This was all the result of the movement of the uniform force of India's Rashtriya Rifle to the Ladakh sector. That has given the China a tough time, as India has done a mirror deployment. Now the pressure was mounting on the China by the third quarter of 2022. The pressure kept on mounting. The operations that were carried out by the Indian Army in August 2020 proved to be metal. That how these the Chinese side was given a befitting reply. And now what happened, that after realizing that it cannot meet what the Indian side is giving the Chinese a mirror deployment, they tried to divert the Indian side to the Rajouri and the Poonch. In the third quarter of 2021, it all started happening in the Rajouri and the Poonch sector, Shravan. It all started with the first deadly terror attack in the Dera Ki Gali. This is the same area in the Chamred sector where 5 of our brave hearts, including a JCO, attained martyrdom in a similar fashion attack. Then after 4 days, 4 more jawans, including a JCO, attained martyrdom in the Bhata Duriya. Then followed by was a Pargal attack in August 2022, and in 2023 we have seen series of attacks. First is the killing of 7 Hindus on the New Year Eve by the terrorists, the Pakistani terrorists. Then it was on the 20th of April where 5 jawans of the Indian Army's Rashtriya Rifle were ambushed by the terrorists of Pakistan in the Bhata Duriya. Third attack was on the special forces of the Indian Army, the para forces, in the Kandi area of Rajouri, in which 5 brave hearts lost their life. And then it was on the 21st of November where we lost 2 captains along with 3 army men. Total 5 brave hearts lost their life in the similar fashion attack. However, the deadly terrorist Kari of the Lashkar, senior commander of the Lashkar, was killed in that encounter. Now, yesterday's attack of in the similar fashion clearly hints that why the China is pushing Pakistan to keep Jammu and Kashmir, especially the Rajouri Poonch region, on the boil, because they know that if the Indian Army will be occupied in Jammu and Kashmir, they might not give a tough time to the Chinese. Yes, Shravan.
Right. Well, Gursimran, I'll just request you to stay on. Let's have all our reporters on the screen right now. Reporters who are getting us minute-to-minute update as to what's really happening and what's the impact like. In fact, if you really look at the operations right now, 8 to 10 terrorists. That's the rough estimate. Ladies and gentlemen, that number could certainly vary. Remember, the moment they actually crossed over, and the fact that with the help of the dense foliage, the very fact that you have caves in those very areas, that gives an advantage for the terrorists to take some sort of a refuge. And this hide and seek game that actually takes place makes it even more difficult. And that's the reason why in the past too, remember, this kind of an operation, especially in the surrounding areas, have actually taken much more longer time. Joining us on this broadcast is also my colleague Arawat. Let's have Arawat and Gursimran both on air right now, getting us the latest details. Arawat, I just want to come quickly to you. Not the first time that we've seen this kind of an operation taking place. What's the latest that you're picking up from the Indian Army in terms of the combing operations?
Yeah, Shavan, the massive combing operation that started yesterday is still underway. The special forces have been pushed in the difficult and very harsh forest areas where the operation is going on, and the special forces which is capable to deal with the anti-terror operation, these forces are capable. They will survive without having food or water for the many hours, and these forces have been deployed in the Poonch area where terrorists targeted the army convoy yesterday. I can tell you, Shavan, right now the massive coordinated search operation is still underway. The more reinforcement has been sent to these forest areas. The massive search is underway. In fact, the operation will be halted yesterday. In fact, at 11 p.m. the operation was halted. Same will happen today because it's a very challenging for the security forces, as the security has been completely covered. This complete area, all the entry and exit points have been sealed by the security forces, and the night vigilance camera has been also placed in many forest areas, including this area where I'm reporting, including the forces who are here right now are highly deployed with the latest technology weapons. In case we can show the, you can see here in visuals, if it's possible to show, it's very difficult for the security forces to do operation right now because it's very dense for heavy fog. Right now it's very quite impossible for the security forces to do operations right now. Yes, Shavan.
Right.